Hello and welcome into another week of the Stadium Experience. I'm Jake Elmsley, Jordan Moment here alongside me, and there is a smattering of topics today, Jordan. Is that a good word to kind of describe today?
Smattering is appropriate.
It's a smattering of topics, and there's such a smattering of topics that it will not just be me and Jordan today. Later on in the show, we're going to be joined by producer Derrick, the TV producer for the Woo Sox, and he'll be joining us to talk about the Patriots. He'll be joining us to talk about just kind of what the Red Sox have in the system. Me and Jordan, obviously, gigantic baseball heads. We're in the nitty-gritty of the entire sport, but we can't follow everything. We can't watch every single AAA, AA, single A. Do they still have single A? Aren't they getting rid of single A? Either way, we can't watch.
There's two single A's. There's high and there's low.
Oh my God, is lowercase and uppercase?
Yep.
Oh my God. So we can't watch every single game. So we're going to be bringing Derrick on. So we'll have that interview for you a little bit later in the program. But as we kind of do by tradition, or by design, or for some reason, we're going to start talking about the Patriots, who, when I wrote this rundown yesterday for the show, doom and gloom for the Patriots. Because yesterday they had their first joint practice with Josh McDaniels and friends down in Las Vegas with the Raiders. And remember that name because they come back up later. Mm-hmm. Remember that Raiders. They will come up later. But they had practice, and it was, by all accounts, for everything except for the run defense for the Patriots, very bad. It was, according to some people, the worst offensive performance all camp from the team, who had started to maybe look, after the second preseason game, joint practice with the Panthers, maybe starting to look up a little bit. Things are at least starting to look better. And then apparently all accounts, terrible, terrible day, a lot of picks, a lot of miscues, just not good. Even in 7-on-7s where they've been good, even when the rest of it hasn't been good, just bad performance all around for the Patriots. So, terrible stuff there. Now, today, reportedly, I haven't seen that much info on it, but the consensus has been that today was better. A little bit, they kind of fell back to the mean, but still, it's not, at least for me, it's not, overly encouraging that after they come off playing against the Panthers, who I don't think are a particularly good team altogether, and I believe that Jordan also doesn't think they're a particularly good team. It would be...
They're not.
No, I didn't know if you were... I probably should have paused and let you jump to some defense of your Panthers, but nevertheless, we carry on. But a little bit, concerning that after they, when they're suddenly against a team like the Raiders, so I'm not saying the Raiders have some stellar defense or the Raiders are some stellar world beater of a team, but I think the Raiders are a good team. I think the Raiders could be a playoff team. I think that entire division could be a playoff team. So if anything tanks the Raiders, it'll probably be that division. But a little bit less encouraging that the second you go against what is more so a real team than the Carolina Panthers, you immediately fall apart. So I don't know, Jordan. What do you take much away from that? From one bad day followed by what was apparently a fine day. What are we taking away from this? Because kind of doing our camp check-in moment.
So we talked about this a little bit yesterday, and I had mentioned that the Panthers don't have that much worse of a defense than the Raiders. In fact, you can probably argue that the Panthers may have more upside to their defense than the Raiders, because the Raiders defense last year was probably the number one factor that held them back, aside from John Gruden and Henry Ruggs and all that stuff. The Raiders defense is not good. It's sort of a hodgepodge of pieces. Some of them work, some of them don't. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of depth around all their positions. So it's not a good sign that they're struggling against the Raiders in really all aspects, offense, defense, except for the run defense.
Run defense looked okay. Gotta tell you, that was one of our big concerns. Run defense looked okay. According to people yesterday, the run, Christian Barmore and Devin Godchaux, who again is apparently the greatest defensive tackle of all time, according to analytics that I only saw after he signed an extension, after I can't remember seeing him do one thing all last season. Apparently the greatest run defender of all time. So just remember that. Anyway, go on.
It's not boding well.
Yeah, unlike
especially since like the Raiders are sort of in that, I mean, middle of the pack of the AFC, I guess.
Yeah. I think they're with you. I think if I was to tier the AFC, I think they're in about the same realm as where I would like to put the Patriots, if I'm being fair. I mean,
but whatever that realm is, the Raiders are on like the high end of it.
Sure, whatever tier we're doing, yeah, that's fair to say. I mean, yeah, I'll give you that. I'll do that. I would be willing to put the I don't know. I still do my final AFC tier, but they're in the same tier. They're in that tier with the Patriots of like, could be a playoff team. I wouldn't be surprised if they were like a 7 seed, and I wouldn't be surprised if they missed the playoffs. But beyond that, speaking of the run defense, by the way, my man Ronnie Perkins on season-ending IR, by the way. Little before we get into the real injury news, Ronnie Perkins, who I was not like high on because of who he was, but was hoping that maybe they could get something out of a third-round pick from last year. Didn't play a game last season. Not going to play a game this year, Jordan. So we're going to be going on 2 straight years. Ronnie Perkins will go 2 seasons without a single regular season snap.
Yeah, it's not particularly good.
Not that, do you think that will impede Ronnie Perkins' development? Or do you think we're probably overstating the importance
not playing football for 2 years straight?
Yeah, or do you think we're overstating the importance of playing football in the development of a football player?
Well, some would say you don't really need to play football to get better at it.
I haven't played football a day in my life professionally.
And I think you can probably slot right into the Patriots secondary. So
I can throw myself down in the slot?
Yeah.
All right. I'll
take over J.C. Jackson's spot.
Hey, J.C. Jackson broke his ankle surgery. He's out a couple weeks. So Belichick does it again, baby.
Maybe it's a good thing the Patriots moved on from.
That's what I'm saying.
Damaged goods.
Out 2 to 4 weeks, baby. But no, so that Anyway, I'll stop dancing around it. The injury news for the Patriots obviously is that at the end of the second preseason game, Tyquan Thornton broke his collarbone. So probably like the thing I was the most excited about for this team offensively is now he's gonna be out for about 8 to 10 weeks. So he'll come back. He'll be back this season, but I don't have like super elaborate takes on this. I gotta be honest. Other than, God, it sucks. I don't like it. It's annoying. It's frustrating. He was looking good. He was a bright spot. For them offensively. He's been looking good. Devontae Parker's also been looking pretty good, by the way. A lot of good Devontae Parker things. I'm not going to take like all my Tyquan Thornton stock and invest it in Devontae Parker. But, so he's out for the year. Just collarbone, just snapped. Out 8 to 10 weeks. Not going to have time to build any kind of chemistry with Mac Jones. And New England will be without his services. When, believe this or not, Jordan, because the thing about this is that of all the, as much as like, you can malign the Patriots receiver core for not having a true alpha, but I think a little bit far away from back, by the way, Jordan, but the thing that we've contended, the thing that I've said has been that like they don't have. The problem with the Patriots receivers isn't a depth thing. I think their depth is fine and good. It's a matter of not having like an elite weapon, like one elite weapon to kind of slot everybody in, and which is supported, by the way, Jordan. There've been a lot of trade chatter from other teams trying to buy Patriots receivers, and this trade chatter was and it's kind of quieted down with the Tyquan Thornton injury, obviously, but it was a position where teams are looking at Nelson Aguilar. Teams were apparently calling about Kendrick Bourne, which is very concerning because he was like their only truly functional receiver last year. Well, not only truly functional receiver, but by a mile their best receiver that last season, maybe. But apparently teams are talking about him. Teams are talking about Nelson Aguilar, and I wouldn't have wanted to trade any of them, even if Tyquan Thornton was healthy. Now, the one contention of that would be that the one, I guess, at least issue from a roster building standpoint to maybe the Patriots would be that none of their 5 receivers, I'd like Bourne, Devontae Parker, Tyquan, Jacoby Myers, and Nelson Aguilar, none of them really can play on special teams at all. And in the aggregate, I'm being serious. So, like, in the aggregate of, like, if all 5 of your receivers, nobody can, that could create an issue. I will concede that. But even then, like, even if it's not that,
that's some issues, punt return, kickoff.
But yeah, Gunnar Olszewski is gone now. But even that, my God, I would not have been a fan of moving any of them. And that's a concern because there's been some issues with Kendrick Bourne. Like, he didn't play in the second preseason game and a lot of people have come out and said it was probably a disciplinary thing because he got into some fights. He was like one of the main guys involved in a lot of the fights during the Panthers OTAs. And there was one point when he tried to come on the field and like a ref whistled him off because his knee pads or something weren't hooked up right, and Belichick got pissed about that and just sent him away for the whole day. So I don't know if there's been some kind of tension with Kendrick Bourne, who again was their best receiver last season on a team that I would say cannot afford to be depriving themselves of offensive skill position talent. Jordan, I don't know about you. I know apparently teams see them as a real seller. Teams see them as a team you can kind of come and buy somebody off. Because there are teams with worse receiver situations, so I will say that. There are still teams that have worse receiver situations. And again,
but few and far between.
You got a team like the Packers, you got a team like the Ravens.
Ravens have
no, they don't. They don't.
They have good tight ends.
They have one good tight end who's Mark. He's very good. Yeah, like the Patriots. The Patriots have like a good tight end, and then the receivers are kind of meh.
But the Ravens have Lamar Jackson.
They have Lamar Jackson.
Good offensive line and
exactly.
Good defense.
But besides that, we're talking about. But it's Kendrick Bourne would be the best receiver on the Ravens. But anyway, but I say, me, Jordan, and this is me. I'm stupid. I've never donned a jockstrap. I've never, set foot. That's a lie. I have actually been on the field at Gillette Stadium, Jordan. I have for UMass Band Day. So I've been on the field. I've ran through the tunnel. I brought a football and I threw one pass into the end zone. Oh, I had to sneak that thing in underneath my little marching band lapel. But I got it in.
Okay.
Oh, I got it in, Jordan. I've thrown a touchdown pass at Gillette Stadium. You can't take that away from me. I've done it.
I cannot. That's more than I've done.
But I would say if you have Mac Jones, maybe your second-year quarterback, trying to help him out. You haven't done the greatest job giving him talent. You're a little bit deficient in that area. Maybe just me. Stupid me, Jordan. Again, with an IQ of approximately 18, 19 maybe, might say maybe find the special team bodies elsewhere and, just give Mac Jones as much talent as possible, which apparently is a very controversial statement even beyond this. Because, again, I'll come out and say right now, I don't care if Kendrick Bourne is being kind of an ass. I'm still holding on to him. Maybe I'm just still, hoping it works itself out. But apparently the Patriots, according to some reports from Albert Breer, apparently Isaiah Wynn has been in trade rumors. There's been Isaiah Wynn trade chatter, Jordan. Which, again, stop me and sedate me when I start sounding like a crazy person. Please, Jordan, who's not even my co-host, who's just the orderly in the insane asylum that I'm in, who I think is my co-host, and I'm in this, and what I think is my mic is actually like a broken faucet that I'm speaking into.
Mm-hmm.
I say, again, when you have a, again, this is from Albert Breer. Maybe something you don't do with your second-year quarterback is get rid of his right tackle. Just me, not left tackle anymore. They flipped him and Trent Brown, which is probably a fine idea, whatever. Yeah, maybe you don't trade the right tackle, Jordan. Is all I'm saying. I don't know about you. Do you? Because I'll read you this. This is from Albert Breer. The one guy I know definitively that they've talked with other teams on is Isaiah Wynn, the first-round pick from 2018. Wynn, though, is on a $10.4 million fifth-year option, which has made it tough to move a guy who for 4 years after he was drafted is still seen as a tackle guard tweener, which that last bit I reject because I am done, because I've spent 4 years talking about Isaiah Wynn playing guard, and I've never once seen that man take a snap at guard, so I think that's never going to happen. He's a tackle, whether you like it or not, but I'm not going to sit here and be like a massive Isaiah Wynn enjoyer or anything of the like, but I mean, like, my God. Like, then the article goes on to talk about, like, no. Yodny Kajust has looked great, Jordan. Remember Yodny Kajust?
No.
There was a point when I thought Yodny Kajust was a successor to Nate Solder. But, I stopped thinking that at a certain point because it never happened. But, I don't know, Jordan. I mean, again, sedate me. Explain to me why I'm dumb for even fathoming this idea of keeping your wrist one of your starting tackles.
So, what your poorly underdeveloped Neanderthal brain cannot understand.
Yeah, I'm glad we have the video now so everybody can see my forehead.
Exactly, your forehead has expanded past your eyes by a tremendous amount.
Yeah.
What you don't understand is that Bill Belichick has transcended the game of football.
Mm-hmm.
He has come to the conclusion that you just don't need offensive linemen anymore.
Okay, that's interesting.
So what he has figured out is that if you can just get rid of the ball fast enough, you don't need anybody on the left edge.
That makes sense.
Or right edge to block.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you just simply throw a bubble screen
to whom?
In about 1.2 seconds.
Not Kendrick Bourne.
Not to Kendrick Bourne, to whomever. And then you just don't have to worry about getting, blocked.
Okay, I can buy that. But yeah, God bless him for doing the due diligence, but my God, please don't. Please don't trade.
In all seriousness, are we tanking? Is that the question?
I don't know. Please don't. Don't make me get on my hands and knees and beg to keep Isaiah Wynn, please. Like, that feels like I'm begging for soggy bread. But like, I'm starving here. Like, what do you want? Like,
I mean, if it's a fire sale in Foxborough, like, just tell us and we can like turn this into a Jets podcast or something.
Before the season gets out, please. We'll go on a...
Yeah.
But I don't... I mean, they haven't done it, right? Like, they haven't done any of it. Like, the Nelson Aguilar trade stuff was kind of in the tube for a while. And even, like, if Tyquan Thornton was playing, I could understand trading Aguilar. Like, I can understand that. Like, whatever. Like, fine. You have him go. Tyquan Thornton's your speedster. He's a fast guy. Whatever. He can be your ex... whatever. Fine. But now he's gone. Please don't trade Kendrick. I don't think they're going to trade Kendrick Bourne because apparently all the chatter on this has died down. Rightfully so. But I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I guess Tyquan Thornton being out might, open the door for a little Jordan Humphrey, which is his real name. It's Lil, Jordan Humphrey. I thought it was a nickname until just now. I swore to God it was a nickname, but it's not. His name is actually just Lil Jordan Humphrey. But like, he's been kind of showing out in the preseason. Like, maybe it opens the door for a guy like that to make the roster for a who cares? Like, whatever. But yeah, Tyquan Thornton being out sucks. I don't know. Tyquan Thornton being out sucks. It's really annoying. I'm really mad about it. I was getting ready. I was like, maybe they finally hit on a receiver. But nope. Cracked his collarbone.
No, imagine if they would have, traded up to get a stud like George Pickens and then drafted Cole Strange in the third round.
They drafted their guy. I'm not even going to give them crap. Like, they drafted a receiver. Like, they recognized the need. Like, they went, let's get a receiver in the first 2 rounds, and they did it. It's just he's only 183 pounds and some larger man fell on his collarbone. So, what you going to do? So, that's not great. But
Yeah, it's not looking hot for the
Yeah,
Patriots.
it's not a good side. It's not. I'll keep coming here every week. Again, the takes aren't like all that like overdeveloped from last time we talked about this, but it's like because like the preseason game looked fine. Like the preseason game too was like okay, they look okay. Some rough parts, like there were like some miscues, a drop or two. Like Matt got sped up a couple times. But, like in the end, they went out. They ended on a touchdown. They looked okay. I'm like okay, they're getting there. Whatever getting there is, they're getting somewhere. There's progress. That's all I want to see. Just get better.
I don't know if getting there against the Panthers, second and third string.
Yeah, it's a start. It's a start.
Is that the bar? I mean,
it's a start. It's a part of the process. I don't know. Get into September playing.
Is Tua about to come out and throw for like 600?
Maybe. Yeah, probably. Almost certainly.
Tyreek Hill, five touchdowns.
Yeah, probably.
400 all-purpose yards.
Yeah, maybe. Jalen Mills will lock him up, baby. General Mills will put him in the cereal box, baby.
He's gonna have to cut out his box tops.
Oh, nice! I've been trying to make this General Mills thing happen for like 10 months, and I don't think it's ever gonna happen. It's okay though.
Are they still on strike?
I don't think so. I think they fixed that. No, clearly they're not. I mean, come on, he's their number one corner now.
Or was it Kellogg's that was on strike?
I think it was General Mills. No, it was definitely General Mills. Because I remember I crafted some incredibly unfunny tweet that I thought was the funniest thing in the world about it at some point. And I'm like, this is like, and looking back, I'm like, there's like 9 layers to this tweet. Like, you have to be somebody who watches all the who watches the Patriots enough to be like aware of Jalen Mills' shortcomings and also like aware of like labor disputes and also find this funny. Which is that's always kind of the hardest one for me to find, honestly, for most of my jokes. But, so not, today looked good, though. Today looked good. Run defense looked good yesterday, again. Run defense looked great yesterday. Don't you count that out, baby. Don't you count out Barmore and the boys. But, apparently Trent Brown, I don't know. Apparently Trent Brown might have beef with the team now. Kendrick Bourne, they benched him, and maybe they all just hate each other. Maybe they're all just slowly starting to not like each other, and that'll be their undoing. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe the Celtics just stole all the sports talent in New England.
Can they give it back? Can they loan it back? Can they just pass it around? Like the Bruins aren't using it, the Red Sox aren't using it, like the Celtics, like Tatum's just like peacocking for Taylor Rook in interviews, like, which God bless him, I would too, but my God. Oh well. We'll see. Season hasn't started yet, baby. It's not started yet. One upside of them not being so good. Mm-hmm. A lot of Sundays will be done by 4. A lot of Sundays getting a whole day. A lot of 1 o'clock games this year. A lot of 1 o'clock games on that schedule. A couple that are looking like they might be good for a flex. Also, something I found, a random thing. I don't want to get too deeply into this. Patriots are playing 2 Thursday night games in a row. Which
interesting.
I didn't know could happen. Yep, but they're playing November 24th against the Vikings. That's a Thursday night game. Then December 1st against the Bills, which is also a Thursday night game. So
they're playing on Thanksgiving.
Yes, yep, it's a Thanksgiving game. Yeah, that would be why. You know what? I thought about this. I have no idea how this has happened, and that's why. Thank you for reminding me. I was like, has any team ever done this before? And then I looked up, I was like, oh yeah, right. Every example has been somebody playing on Thanksgiving. So that's actually why. Never mind. It's not that weird. They're playing the Vikings on Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's...
So, because I was looking, I'm like...
Who are the Cowboys going to lose to on Thanksgiving?
Because I was looking at it, and I was like, well, which of these primetime games that might get flexed out? Because they have like a good amount of primetime games in like late November through December. And I'm like, well, which of these might get flexed out if they're not playing so good? And turns out most of them are Thursday night games, so you can't get flexed out of a Thursday night game. That was a wise decision by the Patriots. And the Cowboys are playing the New York Football Giants, by the way. So get ready for that one. Get excited.
Unless Brian Daboll is literally the greatest football coach the world has ever seen, that should be a lock for them.
But anyhow, when in doubt, Jordan, whenever I start feeling bad as a Patriots fan, one thing I can always do is vicariously live through watching Tom Brady. Just go back to claiming Brady. And there's 2 whole things of Brady news. 2 whole Brady things. And me and Jordan talked a lot about this because Jordan didn't even want to talk about this at all. But because
one
you know,
of the things I didn't want to talk about.
Because he doesn't have the sense for this. He doesn't have the nose for scandal that I do. The nose for drama. He's just a humble sports enjoyer, a statistician, not simply a paparazzi drama queen like I am. Anyway, so Brady's back at practice, and I know we're late to this, and I know we're going to be even later when I post this tomorrow, but I want to talk about it anyway. So Brady's back at practice, very briefly. I swear to God, Jordan, we spent like half an hour arguing about talking about this just for me to explain. Like, I just wanted to mention it. Anyway, so Brady's back at practice, right? He missed about 11 days of camp. He showed up to camp, left for 11 days. Everybody at the Bucs was like, yeah, it's a personal thing. It's, you know, it's this, it's that, but they weren't telling you what it was, which, at least to me, in my eyes, when I tend to believe that when a team has an easy answer, like an easy answer that everybody's gonna be like, all right, that's fine, about any given issue, they're gonna tell you, because why wouldn't they? Like, if Brady was missing practice and they're like, oh, well, you know, like, he's hurt. They just tell you he's hurt. Why wouldn't they? Or if it was, you know, it was something with his which has come out. Because, I mean, my first thought was maybe it was something with his family, right? Because his mom's had some health issues. I think his mom had cancer, at least, I think twice, actually. His mom's had some health issues. His parents are very old. Maybe it was something with them or his kids or something. You know, reports have come out. Not that at all. None of that. Like, it was not a health thing. Everybody in his family is perfectly fine. And then the photos came out of him and Giselle and the kids just being beautiful in the Bahamas. And, you know, personally, and the main thing I want to do, I really just want to take this moment to be consistent because I don't like it. Yeah, it's a thumbs down for me missing camp to go to the Bahamas with your family. I'll say it. You know, it's not gonna sink the ship of the Bucs. It won't. Probably. It just won't sink. But, you know, like, just want to say it. Me and everybody else in the world collectively spent like 20 years having a circle jerk about how hard Tom Brady worked and how every little practice he showed up and all that. So just the entire genesis is just, if he doesn't do it, it's like, come on. Play the game. Me and Joe were talking about this before. Even if he doesn't need to be there, pretend you need to be there for everybody else. Because there are 52 other people. Oh my God, like 79 right now. Rosters are at 80. There's 79 other people who are there in Tampa, Florida in August running around. And I assume it's very hot here, Jordan. In Rhode Island.
It must be terrible.
It must be terrible, right? So I'm just saying, like, you know, if you're there and then you go on Insta and you see Brady in the Bahamas and every other team's starting quarterback who's not injured is at the camp, you might not love it. You know, you might in the moment, sweating, you have a big ringing headache, you know, maybe you're like one of these new O-linemen. Especially if you're on the offense, you're like, what even is the point of this? Like, why are we even doing it? If he's not here, like, what does any of this matter? I'm really getting my reps in with Blaine Gabbert. Like, oh, thank God. That'll really pay dividends during the season. But anyway, so, which is to say, the whole point is that there must be something afoot. And my instincts on this Brady stuff have typically been very good. Like, did we not just a month ago read a report about how Brady was having secret boat meetings with the Dolphins owner, which at the time when Brian Flores brought up that he was having secret meetings with the QB, I immediately said that was Brady. I immediately was like, oh, it was obviously Brady. No way it was anybody else. Nobody else would be doing that in that exact way. That funny. And I was right. So all I'm saying is something. I've seen theories that, like, maybe him and Giselle, a little on the rocks. Because I don't know. I'm just saying, otherwise, Jordan, unless like it was like serious, like big trouble at home, does Brady seem like a man who would ever pick his family over like 11 days of scrimmaging? You really think that? Does that sound like the Tom Brady that you know, Jordan?
Maybe he had some character development. Maybe his kids guilt tripped him into spending time with him.
You see, they had so much time though. They had like 8 months to spend time with him. Like, unless they bought the trip when he was retired, like maybe he booked. Okay, I got a new theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say he probably just booked the trip and it was non-refundable. Maybe he booked, but I don't think he was ever really retired. It was all. I mean, he never was. I was right about that, by the way. I said there's no way he's not coming out of retirement. He just hates Bruce Arians. He just wants him gone, or he wants something, and he's not getting it. And then he did it. I was right. But I just want to plant the seed here for inevitably in like a year and a half when like this turns out to have been over the most ridiculous thing in the world as a whole thing, which will happen. It'll be something, but it'll turn out like Brady was never in the Bahamas and the photos were all staged, and like he was truly actually off having more like secret boat meetings in international waters with like, I don't know, the Dolphins again probably. But maybe he bought the trip when he was, you know, trying to convince the Bucks he wasn't bluffing, and he like sent them the tickets. He was like, see, I bought a trip in the middle of training camp. Obviously I'm really retired unless you give me something, which I do have one more theory. Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe because after seeing the stuff about the Dolphins, about how they were offering like an ownership stake, but the Bucks just wouldn't let him out of his contract, which I think basically at this point I'm convinced that the timeline is Brady retired because he wanted to get out of that contract so he could go take the deal with the Dolphins or something. Maybe he had something else lined up, and the Bucks just wouldn't let him out of the contract. They wouldn't let him out. And then eventually they just came to the consensus that we're not letting you out of the contract, but if you really don't like Bruce Arians, we'll get rid of Bruce Arians. We'll do that for you, but like you got it. If you're playing next season, you're playing with the Bucks. Maybe Brady got to camp. He was in that really hot Florida sun, was playing, and just at some point was like, what am I doing? I had like being an owner on the table. Like I had a stake in a franchise on the table. Maybe that makes you need to have some time to cool off. That's like my only other theory. Because, you know, if you had a stake in the team on the table, maybe you get a week into practice, and you're like, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be a player. I should be a player, owner, coach, all rolled into one. I don't know. That's something. I don't know. I just want to get on the table that I think there's going to be some ridiculous thing in a year from now. I know Jordan doesn't want to talk about this at all. We'll move on. So anyway, though, to the other Brady thing and this Brady story double feature that allows us to not to talk about the Patriots training camp. So I think it'll probably be old news by soon, but I told you to remember the Raiders. And you've probably heard this story before, but if you haven't, I'm going to play you some audio. Dana White on they have a Gronk cast now for UFC fights. At least they did for this one. They had Gronk and all the other Gronks. I think it was all of them. I didn't actually look, but I assume it was all of them.
It was Gronk clan.
Some critical mass of Gronks. I don't know what they call them. I believe they call them like a rack. That's like the term.
The rule of Gronk.
Like when you find a group of Gronks in nature, like this, it's called a rack, or maybe it's called I don't know. It's called something. But he was on there with them, and Dana White basically, I'll play the audio.
I worked to put that deal together for Brady and Gronk to come to the Raiders. And it was almost a done deal. And at the last minute, Gruden blew the deal up and said that he didn't want him. And all hell broke loose, man. It was crazy. And Brady was already looking at houses, and it wasn't being said yet that Gronk was coming. So Las Vegas would have had Brady and Gronk the year that the Bucs won the Super Bowl, except Gruden blew the deal up. And there's so much story that goes along with this behind the scenes, and I was never going to tell that story till Gronk just said it, but yeah.
And Dana, that is exactly what happened, and you just told the story.
So, I do have a main thought. I do have a thought first. I will say I have to assume that must be at least a little bit embellished by Mr. White. If anything, for the fact that I can't imagine how far along the thing would actually get if John Gruden wasn't into it. I would find it a little bit strange that you would get that close to it, as close as he's saying, if like John Gruden, who they were paying $100 million to be their coach and allegedly to be the quasi GM. I don't really know exactly what the arrangement was, but he seemed like he had a lot of influence there. It would feel a little bit weird to me if John Gruden just wasn't in on it and it got that far. He was just not into it, but yeah, Tom Brady, almost a Raider allegedly, which gave new life to this, which is something that I don't know if you recall this, Jordan, but when Tom Brady was on HBO's The Shop, which will probably now be HBO's A Tax Write-Off soon, but he said
I don't think they would do that to LeBron.
They might. Who knows? Who's to say? But he said this, which now might have better context, knowing that he was potentially almost a Raider.
There was a story in free agency. One of the teams, they were interested, and all of a sudden they weren't interested at the very end. I was sitting there thinking, you're sticking with that motherfucker? Are you serious?
Tom probably had no desire to go to that team, but now it's like, why don't you want me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I look back, I'm like, I just don't fucking way I would have went to that team. But they said they didn't want me, and I know what that means. I know what that feels like, and I'm like.
So at the time, I assumed he was talking about the Dolphins, honestly, who apparently turns out would have given Brady everything in the world. And maybe it was a little Derek Carr slander there from Tom Brady. So, which I do remember at the time, a shocking lack of teams were interested in Tom Brady when he was a free agent. It looked like from what it was that it was only the Patriots who wouldn't just give him a contract he wanted, and the Bucs at the time. So I would believe that more teams are involved because I thought more teams would be involved. But yeah, maybe Tom Brady was almost a Raider. I don't really have much to say about it. I just felt the need to acknowledge it as part of this Brady double feature, and I don't know, maybe dance on the grave of John Gruden a little bit. You have any dancing to do on the grave of John Gruden, Jordan?
So, I've heard through other various sports shows that I watch at work, because the block of shows on FS1 from like Undisputed to like the end of the herd is like almost the entirety of my shift, so it works out perfectly. But what is alleged is that John Gruden had more or less like 51% of control of player personnel and
it was something like
and all
that
other stuff.
It's like him and Mayock, and I can imagine him not just giving Mayock full power.
Yeah. So the rumor is that they were sort of doing this deal on the hush, that Dana White wasn't really talking to John Gruden, he was just talking to Mayock, and then eventually John Gruden heard about it, and then he just sort of vetoed it because John Gruden had to be the superstar of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay.
His ego wouldn't allow anything else, and of course, Derek Carr is just sort of, he's just along for the ride.
Right.
Every one of his seasons in the NFL, he's just sort of been along for the ride.
Right, but if it was Brady and they won anything, it wouldn't be a Gruden thing. It would be okay.
It'd be a Brady thing, and Gruden couldn't stand that. Because if they win, it just be like, Brady's just doing more winning. But if they lose, it all be John Gruden's fault. So,
but
he wasn't into that, and he wanted the empire of John Gruden. So
which I do have a new theory. No. Maybe it was Brady who leaked John Gruden's emails.
Oh, that'd be funny.
I'm telling you, and I'm just putting it out there because maybe he did. He seemed pretty spiteful in that cut I just played you, if he was talking about John Gruden and the Raiders. So I don't know. That's it. I mean, those are our Brady things. Those are just our Brady distractions from just the slog that is the New England Patriots right now.
I do, however, want to take a second and acknowledge that Derek Carr is a good quarterback.
Derek Carr is fine. Derek, sure.
Dude is he's just thrown to the wolves, man. No one's a Derek Carr fan.
But we can move in a more positive direction and talk about the Boston Red Sox. only do briefly because we have the interview to play. But yeah, I'm out after the Orioles series. After that, plus Evaldi being on the DL, plus today, Wednesday, where they're starting Bobby Dahlbeck at shortstop. Yeah, I'm out. I'm done. You were right, Jordan. I was holding. Mathematically, they're still in it. I don't care. They got to play the division a million times. They're 16-33 against the division right now. This gave up 8 runs in the 3rd inning against the Blue Jays yesterday. Bayo, he's starting right now, though. Having an okay game. He's starting to kind of leak 2 runs through 5 innings. Not bad, though. Not bad for the young guy. We'll talk about him a little bit in a minute. But
16-33 in the division.
The weird thing, they're 44-30 otherwise. It's solely been they cannot beat the AL East consistently problem. That has been the sole undoing of the Red Sox this season. That's the thing.
They never had a chance.
No, it's just been that. That's been the thing. Like otherwise, they have like a 70% win rate against the rest of the league.
Yikes.
And they just they're 3-11 against the Blue Jays. Like they can just not play their own division. But anyway, so that's happening. Division's only going to get better, by the way, unless the Red Sox lose Aaron Judge. But otherwise, whom I've heard Red Sox might be in on. Little thing.
They won't pay him.
Little nugget I've heard along the way. Yeah, they might.
They won't pay him.
Yeah, maybe.
They won't pay Aaron
Maybe we'll
Judge.
find out.
They won't outbid the Yankees. There's no way.
We'll see.
There's no way.
But I just want. But anyway, so the division's only getting better. By the way, the Orioles are already coming out and saying that they're gonna actually spend money next season. Exactly how much? Not positive, but their owners came out and said they're gonna spend money, which it's hard to spend less money than $40 million on your roster. So if they go up to $100 million, that's over double. Adley Rutschman has just been like the best player in baseball for the last 3 weeks. So that's fun. They also have just the number 2 prospect in all of baseball coming up next year in the form of Gunnar Henderson. So Orioles aren't going anywhere. And again, they might actually spend a little bit of money and bring in some real players. So that's not going anywhere.
Orioles are in the thick of it.
They're in it. They're coming up on it. I mean, let me tell you, they got him. They got this Grayson Rodriguez kid who could be coming up. Like they got 3 top 15 prospects that could be in the league next year. They are on the come up. And again, they've come out and said they're actually going to spend money next year. I'll give you even the exact quote. No, I won't. I didn't tag the article. Whoopsie daisy. But their GM came out and said they're actually going to spend money. Again, who knows how much it is. I doubt they're going to just suddenly go from $40 million to spending right up against the luxury tax. But still, it's really hard. Anything is up for them. So they're probably not going anywhere. The Rays probably aren't going anywhere. The Blue Jays probably aren't going anywhere. Yankees probably aren't going anywhere. Which is to say, the Red Sox are in a tough spot. In a division that they cannot seem to buy a win in. However, that's where we brought producer Derrick on to talk to us about. So let's chat with him right now, and Jordan and I will be back in a moment. All right, and joining me now, as advertised, we have the TV broadcast producer for the Woo Sox, producer Derrick, joining us now. And how are you, Derrick?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
From a baseball perspective, terrible. Life perspective, I'm doing okay. But I want to bring Derrick on today because I will admit, as much as I like to fancy myself some form of old-timey baseball scout, a certain portrayal of mine, a certain character, I'm not down at AAA. I'm not watching the Woo Sox games very often. Since I moved out of Rhode Island, it's a lot harder for me. Maybe I could, but we'll blame the great state of Rhode Island for that. But either way, I'm not watching a lot of that. I'm certainly not really taking in as many Portland Sea Dogs games as I may have in my youth. But I did want to bring somebody on who does do that, who might have a better idea, and especially, and the main thing I want to talk to Derrick about, I want to talk to you about, Derrick, is the kind of what is in the pipeline for the Red Sox pitching-wise. Because if you look at their prospect list, I mean, of their top 10 prospects, you obviously have Brian Bello, who came up for a little bit. He's on IL right now. You have a Brian Mata. You have a Brandon Walter. Number 12, you have Chris Murphy. You have guys who are at least projected by MLB.com, projected by a lot of other lists to be available to come up at some point in 2023. Some of them are technically listed as this year. You have Winkowski, Wakakowski, who had a dynamite performance last night, only giving up 6 runs in over 2.5 innings against the Blue Jays last night. But again, I just want to bring on, because the Red Sox are going to have to basically remake their pitching rotation this offseason with Nathan Eovaldi being a free agent and being one of the top pitching free agents on the market. Waka being a free agent. Rich Hill being a free agent, if I'm going to list that to count that one. But I just want to ask you, it's not that any of these players are really regarded as really highly elite prospects, but with the Red Sox really needing to help in the starting rotation, really needing to help in the bullpen, having about maybe 1.5 viable arms, depending on the health status of Tanner Houck at any given moment. I guess just what, with these guys, just to ask you the broad question, what are they looking at? What can they expect? What are you seeing with a lot of these guys in Worcester right now?
Yeah, so, from a lot of the writers and experts and other people I've talked to over the course of the season, this is a really exciting time for Red Sox pitching prospects. You have to go back to really, some people compare it to maybe about 2014-ish when they had Erod and Brian Johnson and those kinds of guys in the system. Heard other people go all the way back to 06, 07, 08 when you had John Lester and Clay Buchholz in the system. It's that kind of hype train, that kind of excitement. And obviously, we're not really going to see a ton of that this year. You've seen some of the guys get called up.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see the results we're looking for this year. Even if you go back, way back, I know Buchholz threw a no-hitter in his second game, but it took him a little while to kind of get established as a major league starter. Same with John Lester. That first season, I know he's coming off of the cancer treatments and everything, but it took him a little while to get established as a true major league starter. So I think you have to have a little patience with some of these guys. But some of these guys are really good and have shown talent. Brian Bayo, I know it's kind of been a little bit of a mixed bag at the major league level, but watching him for, I can't remember off the top of my head how many starts, but let's say about a month and a half, 2 months starting at Worcester, he was just dominant.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
They've had other pitchers that were really good down there that led, Connor Siebold led the league in ERA. He was one of the leaders in ERA for a little while. Winkowski was really good down there. This guy was different. A Bayo start was way different.
Okay.
Stuff was just that much. You could tell looking at it. You said, wow, this is not like the other guys. Something here is not like the others. It really stood apart. So I think he's only, 23. He's still got time to grow and learn. I know I just read the other day, Nathan Eovaldi, he referred to Nate Eovaldi as somebody that is mentoring him and that he's learning from when he's up there with the Red Sox. And Eovaldi kind of followed up on and gave a similar take. He said his fastball is electric. His stuff's there. He has the ability to compete at the major league level. It's just a matter of being consistent and kind of putting it all together.
Yeah.
So, and I think some of that falls in line with some of the other guys. You mentioned Winkowski. You mentioned Walter. He's been out for a while. I think he's been out for about 2 months with a back issue. But he was, I think, in April. I think he was the AA. Forget the division. The Sea Dogs are in the East. He was pitcher of the month for April. He had some crazy stat line like 29 strikeouts to 1 walk or something.
Really?
So
okay.
Really good control. He made, I think, 2 or 3 starts for Worcester, and then his back flared up. So curious to see where he's at, if he comes back later this year or where he's at going into next year. Chris Murphy, the numbers aren't really there, but watching him pitch, he's very methodical. He's a lefty with a pulse, so he kind of gets it done. He's a little, he kind of sneaks up on you. So there's some guys down there that can be helpful, whether they remain as starters or you look at a guy like Winkowski and say, would he be more effective coming out of the bullpen perhaps? Maybe that's an option for them down the road. But I think they have – I think the important takeaway is on the whole, they have good arms in the system right now, and then kind of sort through which ones are actually going to make it and which ones are, just depth pieces.
So I guess with that, I mean, again, not to just kind of in the grander scheme, I mean, just what, like, opening day next season, because obviously, I mean, this season is mathematically not a lost cause. We'll say that. We'll put that out there. We might have already said that before. I don't know where this is exactly going in the grander episode today when I pull some magic and seamlessly transition to this later at night when the light is different behind me. But either way, I mean, just going into opening day, going into next season, I mean, just I don't even necessarily need individual roles for individual pitchers, but just what critical mass of just production do you really think that they can reasonably expect to just be getting from some of these guys, even not at the start of the season? I mean, maybe by like, midsummer, like what do you think the Red Sox could reasonably be expecting? Because obviously I would love to see them cycle some of these less than optimal arms, maybe a Saramora, maybe a Ryan Brazier, maybe a Matt Barnes every other month. When you have a bad half year Matt Barnes, maybe a him. Just what? Obviously, like the Red Sox desperate attempt to have a number 3 starter who's not a number 5 starter. I mean, just like what it would be like a reasonable expectation for this team. Like if you're high in Bloom, like how much are you adding to this team versus how much are you leaving available for some of these guys to eat up?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the real challenge in this offseason. I kind of think that Bloom and the Red Sox have always had 2023 as kind of like that's kind of their goal the last 2 seasons. That's kind of what they've been arching towards. I think at least 1 or 2 of these guys is going to be able to slot into the rotation at some point.
Okay.
Bayo, obviously, he's kind of already on the cusp of that. I still think next year he should start the season in AAA just to kind of control innings a little bit, give him a soft landing spot, and then he comes up in, say, May or June.
Okay. Yep.
That's where I would like to see him. But it depends on how he does in spring training. If he's lights out in spring training, then why waste the innings at AAA? And I'd like to see, like I said, Walter's he's missed so much time, it's hard to evaluate where he's at right now. Same thing, I'd like to see where he either finishes this year or what he looks like in spring training. He's a guy who could potentially help you out as maybe a 5th starter or a long man out of the bullpen. They have a couple other bullpen arms. Frank Herman has been really solid for Worcester out of the bullpen. I think he's still on the young side. He's somebody who could maybe be like a mid-season call-up next year and could help them out. He could, in a sense, he could almost be like your John Schreiber next year of where'd this guy come from? Where did he come from out of our system?
Sure.
So he's a guy. There's another guy, I think he's in Portland, Santos. Not sure how close he is, but I know he's made it into the Red Sox top 30 as far as Baseball America is concerned. So he's a guy, I don't know that he's 2023, he might be 2024. But he's a guy in the pipeline that could help you out of the pen. Caleb Ort's been really good for Worcester, but he hasn't been as great in Boston. So maybe you bring him back up in September and see what you really got there and decide if he's somebody who's in your plans next year or not. But yeah, as far as the offseason goes, I think it's going to be a mix. There's going to be some guys in the pipeline that you can use and mix in. Maybe you look at Winkowski and Seabold and say, you guys better out of the pen. That worked for Tanner Houck this year. He looked much better coming out of the pen than he did starting.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. I think he could be dynamite if they really keep him in like a long reliever role.
Yeah, or even I kind of liked him in the closer role. It kind of reminded me of way back in the day. Papelbon came up as a starter.
Oh, sure.
And they just didn't have a closer, and he said, guys, I'll just be the closer. And he loved it. He said, I don't want to go back to starting. And that made a whole career out of it.
Oh, sure.
That's something that could work for Tanner Houck, especially with a whole offseason preparing to go to that role as opposed to just switching into it mid-season.
That would be a boon for the Red Sox.
Maybe this guy's your closer, which would be phenomenal. You don't have to go pick some guy up. But I still think the Red Sox are going to need some veteran help coming in. I think they're going to need to sign like probably at least a number 2 starter just to fill out that rotation. And then obviously they do a good job with this, but just finding those like veteran pieces that help fill out a roster on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, they've been, I will say, I feel like they've been, last season, I think that was one thing that, one of the reasons that they went as far as they did. Obviously, with last season, I think they did a much better job. I will say this season, I feel like there's a lot of the same guys, in fairness, and that's sort of the nature of relievers, is kind of what I tell people. I'm like, well, there are no relievers who are good every single year. That's the nature of a relief arm, which is usually why I'm always a fan of, honestly, I love bringing guys who have been bad for 6 months, because maybe you'll catch them on the upswing. Is always the way I look at it. Like I would almost bet money that Matt Barnes will somehow be like their top reliever next year, and then in 2024 will not, and then we'll be traded somewhere else, and we'll go, oh, good riddance, and then in 2025 he'll be on, let's call it the Reds. Let's call it the Reds, and just lead the league in saves somehow. But that's besides the point. But so it's good to see these guys. I'll take your word for it. I'll believe you, but I mean, obviously, like we're seeing these guys come up now. You're seeing a Winkowski. You're seeing a guy like this struggle. How much do you think for some of these guys who have come up now, for again, a Bello, I know I keep mispronouncing. I think I pronounce it wrong every single time, which is why I brought you on. Which is why I wanted to bring a triple A expert on the show. But
it's the double L, the Y sound, the double L Y. Yeah.
Bello.
Yep.
So what are we like? What can you like these guys now with a full spring training? How beneficial do you think that is? How beneficial do you really think that is for most pitchers? Like what kind of jump do you think you can expect from some of these guys in a year or two? Hopefully with the major league, or at least getting their second crack at the major league at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all great experience. I kind of go back. I like to look at different like trends with this ownership group because I feel like they kind of go in cycles and they kind of learn from their own successes and failures. So I kind of look back at like 2012 when they had the greatest team on paper that just blew up. Bobby V, you're terrible. And, they got to a point in August and they said, this ain't happening. They traded off all these guys and basically said, we're starting early on 2013. And that kind of all worked out. So I think in a sense here, not to that dramatic effect, but some of these guys getting time up now in August, I'm really interested to see what they do with September call-ups, who gets the call-up here, just getting experience with some of these guys. You mentioned Nathan Eovaldi. I don't know that he's going to be back here next year, but he's a great team player. He's a great team leader. He's the kind of guy that guys like Bayo and some of the others just spending time around him can learn how to be a pro and learn how to approach what they need to do every day. So I think that stuff is hugely valuable. You come up, you learn from these guys. And even when Chris Sale was down in Worcester for the one start that he made, just being around these guys and seeing what they do, you're able to kind of like, take that in, digest it, and have a whole off season to kind of like, wow, maybe I should like be approaching my training like this. Maybe I should do X, Y, and Z. I need to step up to this level. And some of these guys will get it. And they'll come into spring training hot. They'll come into spring training ready to go. And some other guys might not. It's that's kind of the human nature aspect of it. But to kind of gone around in circle here. But I think my money on the guy to watch going into spring training is Bayo. I know that's the easy answer, but he's going to really be. Does this guy fit in your rotation next year or not? And is it at the beginning of the year or is it a mid-season call-up? I like a mid-season call-up like June-ish.
Oh, sure.
Just to kind of, like I said, control innings, give him a soft landing, like let him work out whatever kinks he needs to in spring training and AAA, and then bring him up. I think he can be a really good quality starter for you.
Okay. So I know we've talked mainly about the pitchers, but in general, I mean, anybody else Casas might be coming up next season. Could probably come up as soon as maybe this season at this point with the way they're going. Although Hosmer's actually been a breath of fresh air. It's incredible. It's incredible how much better a baseball team looks like when they have a representative first baseman on the diamond, which I personally never would have thought. I, many years ago, wrote my great novel on the utility of the first baseman, but I guess I was wrong. But anybody else either in a call-up, either be called up before the end of the season or just anybody to, you really think could be a contributor sooner rather than later that maybe people aren't talking a lot about, or maybe I just don't know about, or just, yeah, I mean, who else outside of pitching is really standing out to you?
Yeah, I'll give you three guys here. I'll start with Casas. You brought it up, but that's the guy everybody's calling for right now to get called up, right? And I think Cora might have alluded to it. Like there's just not at bats for him right now. They'd rather he get at bats. He missed about 2 months with a rolled ankle, where he basically didn't do anything. So they want him to get at bats and kind of progress. He some of the similar things I was telling you about Bayo. He stands out. He's different. When you see him get in the batter's box, he's a big boy. He is big and he hits the ball far. He approaches hitting a little bit like JD Martinez in that he's like very methodical. He wants to learn about it. He wants to review tape. He wants to learn like, what's this little thing I can do different? What's that little thing I can do different? He's very invested in the art of hitting and just kind of like learning more. He's a guy similar. I wouldn't mind him coming up in September, just being around the major league club and just kind of learning like, this is what's expected of you. This is how you go about it. He and Hosmer have this connection because they went to, I think, the same college or the same high school. I can't remember off the top of my head. But they have this weird connection. It's been written about a little bit. They both have talked about each other. They're aware of each other. I'm not sure if they've actually met in person, but it would be good for them to spend some time together. Casas has been playing first base, but by next year, if JD's gone, theoretically, you could put him in a DH or whatever.
Oh, okay, that was my next question.
Yeah, so they'll find somewhere for him to hit if that's the case. Couple other guys. Guy I'm interested in for this year would be Ryan Fitzgerald. He's been pretty good at AAA all year. He went through a little slump mid-season. He can play any position. He's a little older. I think he's 28. He kind of reminds me in the sense of almost like a Brock Holt type, where he can be a super utility. He's a good clubhouse guy, brings the energy. He had to go through indie ball, so he's kind of humble. So he's a guy I'd be curious to see if he can hit at the major league level. I think September is a good time to just see what you have in him.
No, sure.
And whether he's worth coming back next year. And then the other guy, so we'll give you three. Oh, Connor Wong. With Christian Vasquez going, I know the Red Sox picked up Reese McGuire. They have Kevin Pilecki. That takes care of this season, but what's the future? It's Connor Wong. Does Vasquez leaving clear the door for Connor Wong to come up and be part of the Red Sox team? His bat, he's been really hot since I think June 1st. He's hitting, I want to say close to 300. He's had the last homestand, I think he had 3 home runs in 5 games or something like that. So he's been coming on as of late with his bat. I know he caught Sale and Evaldi when they made rehab starts down there. They both had really positive things to say about him. They liked working with him in terms of him calling the game and that kind of thing. And that goes a long way.
Oh, sure.
How many pitchers have we seen over the years that couldn't hit at all, but the guys liked working with them, so they had a job. So I'm curious where he falls in their plans. Again, September's a big month for me as far as these minor leaguers go. Like, I really want to see who the Red Sox call up and give at-bats to see where they're going next year. Because I think this year's, even though they're technically still in it, I think this year's a wash. You just see what you got for next year and move on. So I'm curious where Connor Wong lands on that. If they view him as a starter, a backup, what is he to the organization? So I'm really curious about that. I think he could have an impact, but I'd like to see him with more major league experience and see what that translates to.
Sure. All right. Well, I mean, that about does it for me, unless you have any other real secret spice, deep cut info exclusive for the Stadium Experience about the status of the stats about the entire Red Sox organization. Like, I don't know if you were like in an elevator with Chaim Bloom recently or anything of the like, but otherwise, he's on Twitter as Producer Derrick, at Derrick with 2 R's, Willand with 2 L's.
Yep.
Do you have anything else you want to let the people know about, Derrick? Or
just this goes for you too, Jake. But come on out to Polo Park. Like, if you haven't been yet, it's a great experience. It's a beautiful ballpark there. It's probably, haven't gone to, other minor league parks. It's kind of, I think this is as close as you're going to get to like a major league experience in terms of what the park looks like and just the way it's set up. And it's just very easy to get to and experience. So if you get a chance this season or next season, come on out to Polo Park. Come see some of these guys. We're going to end up being part of the Red Sox organization next year.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, perfect. I mean, thank you again for joining us. You're welcome to come on anytime, and I'll call you any other time I have any random question about the Red Sox farm system. Spring training, definitely. If any of these guys come up, and like I said, you're welcome on the show anytime. And again,
absolutely,
thank you for coming on. And this has been my segment, my interview, my portion of with producer Derrick. So back to the rest of the show. So Kevin Durant's not going anywhere. You want to talk about great not to continue to have this be like the drama report show today, but there's only one sport actually happening right now that we talk about, and Red Sox are doing very good. So what else do you want from us? But the Kevin Durant odyssey has allegedly been resolved, and will allegedly be happy and go lucky. And Nets GM Sean Marks, not the owner, Nets GM Sean Marks came out. He wasn't yesterday. He came out yesterday and said, Steve Nash and I, together with Joe Tsai and Clara Woo Tsai, who I assume is his wife, met with Kevin Durant and Rich Kleiman in Los Angeles yesterday. We have agreed to move forward with our partnership. We are focusing on basketball with one collective goal in mind: build a lasting franchise to bring a championship to Brooklyn. So again, the matter is resolved. Everybody is friends again. Kyrie's on board. Ben Simmons, I haven't heard a word from him. I assume he's locked in. So the Brooklyn the good ship Nets, is now firing on all cylinders, really, Jordan. How after reading that and seeing everything we've seen, how can you not feel good about the Brooklyn Nets?
That team is still a walking disaster.
Oh, it's like they're doubling down on it. It's incredible. I don't understand how they come back from this, right? Like,
there was no way Kevin Durant was ever going to get traded with a contract that hasn't even started yet. That's
I disagree with that. That makes him a bigger asset. But we talked about it. We talked about how some of the trade scenarios are pretty complicated, and how I thought he might how they might just hold on to him to start the season, just to let some other contract things clear out. But they're trying to make it work. Who talked them into this? Who? Because I and you disagree with me on this. This must have been Joe Tsai who made this work, because I doubt Durant was trying to make it work. And why would Sean Marks and Steve Nash try to make it work if he was just trying to get you two fired? So there's a chance that Joe Tsai is the greatest peacemaker of our time. There's a chance that they should send Joe Tsai to the Ukraine. There's a chance they should send Joe Tsai to Taiwan. There's a chance even Joe Tsai should make a stop in Jerusalem. But, come on, it's not going to work. They have all the talent in the world. I want to sit here and be oh yeah, the Nets are a threat. They got all that talent. But in a month from now, Kyrie's not going to want to play on games where there's a high tide on the Ivory Coast.
I'll give them until December. They'll be good. Everything will be okay until December.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's probably a good.
And then the brakes are going to fall off. But
breaking news!
Breaking news.
Breaking news. I just got this. It won't be breaking news tomorrow when this podcast gets posted, but hang on, not to interrupt you. I'm sorry. But this is a tweet from Shams. 3-year NBA veteran Taco Fall is signing a 1-year deal with the Chinese Basketball Association with Xinjiang. Per sources, the 7'6" center played for Boston and Cleveland and now departs to play abroad. So speaking of us sending our greatest peacemakers to China,
Oh man, I'm absolutely devastated by the loss of Taco Falls and the National Basketball Association.
He's just taking some time to develop, Jordan. He's going over there.
Uh, I'm actually distraught right now. I don't know how I'm going to pull myself together. I always wanted a Taco Falls Celtics reunion. I felt like
they do need a backup center
last year.
That is their biggest
was one of their greatest mistakes.
That is their biggest deficiency. Is like they could use like a nice backup center, but you're saying you don't want to get which basketball team is it in? Well, what's the name of the team? Oh, he's gonna be on the Flying Tigers.
Oh, that's
the Xinjiang Flying Tigers. Am I pronouncing that right? Could be on the Flying Tigers. I mean, maybe I'll buy the Taco Fall Flying Tigers jersey.
Dang, what's the spread on his stats this year?
Oh my God, I'm absolutely gonna gamble on Taco Fall overs in Chinese basketball. Are you kidding me? Oh my God, I'm gonna take the over on rebounds every game.
Oh, over what, 13.5 rebounds?
Yeah, whatever that is. He might not even get minutes there. Who's to say?
But I'm on the opposite side of you. I think Sean Marks sat Kevin Durant down and said, "Look, either you can stay here or we're going to trade you to the Kings for their entire bench and 5 first-round picks, and you can go waste away there." And then Kevin Durant, being the savvy vet that he is, said, I'll stay in Brooklyn. I think we can make this work.
You see, I can't believe it came from Sean Marks, because it's clear that he just doesn't respect him at all. Like, that's why I just have to think it came from the very top, because he just clearly doesn't care what any of these people think. Which, again, is to the point of why it's probably going to be a walking... Like, how is that practice going to run? Like, how is the first practice going to work when everybody goes in and it's like Kyrie who won't show up, like Durant who was just telling the manager telling the owner publicly to fire the coach, and then Steve Nash is going to, give him a drill? Gonna, put some cones down, and everybody's just going to do... Like, Ben Simmons walks in. Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's not there.
Ben Simmons wheels himself in his wheelchair to preserve his energy.
Like, it's like, how does this possibly work, right? Like, how it's impossible. No way it works, right? Like
0%.
There's no way it works. How does any of it work?
You have a man who doesn't want to play basketball. You have Kevin Durant, Kevin Durant is good. He's one of the best basketball players to ever play, but he can only do so much in the Eastern Conference.
And he doesn't want to be there.
He doesn't want to be there.
And he's just sounded off on every single person there. Like,
I don't know what Ben Simmons' deal is. He's broken. He needed a back surgery. He still can't
needs
shoot.
A therapist. Like,
he needs a therapist. Dude needs everything right now. I don't know what's going on with that team. And then the bench is the bench.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Like, the roster's fine. Like, I'm not even complaining about the talent level, but it's just like, it's not gonna. How does this possibly work? How does this?
I don't know what the odds are in Vegas, but I'm pretty sure they're probably what.
I mean, they had to reset them again, I assume, because now Durant's back in. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's just the Nets thing is insane. Like, it's insane. How does that? Like, it's insane. It's so stupid. It's so funny. And I'm glad that this is happening, because this means that my favorite reality show gets to continue. Because if Durant got traded, it's over. It's done now. Like, now they're just like a team, and they have some assets, and they're like, yeah, trying to be good or trying to kind of pick a direction. Maybe they're trying to develop some guys. Who knows? There's 29 other teams that are doing that, you know? The Nets, though, are something special. The Nets are a phenomenal drama of human emotion.
I think the Lakers are coming up behind them.
Yeah, I don't know. They're not like this. Come on. I mean, the Lakers aren't like this. I mean, they're just like, oh, Russell Westbrook's kind of a tough fit. I mean, that's really it. But this, I mean, come on, Jordan. Like, everybody hates each other. Like, Kyrie's being Kyrie. Like, this is great. I'm so glad he's not gone yet, because it's going to flare up again. Then we can do this all again. It'll be great. Or people will get tired of it. I don't know. I won't get tired of it. I can understand why, like, if you are somebody who simply wants to enjoy good basketball, this is repulsive to you. But to me, I love it. And it gets to continue. Thank God.
I'm on record saying basketball is not the main focus of the NBA. It is simply class warfare.
It is, and in this round, Kevin Durant lost. Okay, seems like Kevin Durant lost this round.
The landlords won once.
Landlords won this one. It seems like, and Kyrie said he's locked in and to staying, but nobody was asking him to.
Don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see it.
Maybe the Lakers aren't getting Kyrie now. They got to figure out another ejection plan on the Russell Westbrook thing. But so that's fun. That's fun. So this is a great time. I'm having a great time with this Durant thing. This hell of an outcome. You hate to see it happen to such pillars of the game. But
dude took a big L.
Yeah, dude took a little bit of it. Dude, really, they really called his bluff. I'm not in the business of like praising billionaires or siding with owners, but my God, did they call his bluff? That's crazy on their part. I gotta tell you, like it's kind of crazy to see like a star in the NBA not get exactly what they want whenever they want it. It's kind of nuts. It's kind of unprecedented in the last couple of years, but
they stood firm.
So that happened. So
there was also some. I'll throw this last thing out.
Okay.
A lot of people are blaming the Timberwolves for absolutely destroying the market for KD.
It's possible, yeah, because now the Nets can't possibly get less than they got for Rudy Gobert. Because like the value of stars, that kind of always fluctuates like up and down a little bit. But yeah, within the same offseason, absolutely, yeah. Like they can't possibly trade him for less than the.
Yeah, if Rudy Gobert gets 5 picks, like you got to give up like the franchising rights to get Kevin Durant. You have to give up the team,
right? Which makes it cost
sort of
too.
The discrepancy.
Like you can't trade Kevin Durant for less than Rudy Gobert got a month ago. No, that is true. That's something I've thought about. The Timberwolves did in fact ruin it, ruin the trade market for Kevin Durant. It's actually extremely fun. They really did. Like if this happened like an off season ago, whatever, different market. This, you gotta get more. Else you look like a fool. But nope, the Nets they called his bluff. They're dragging him into the Barclays Center, kicking and screaming. So again, probably gonna be again, I have a good feeling that this will be the year for the Nets. They're gonna get it together. Everybody's gonna get along. Everybody's gonna play real good.
I mean, but if it does work, so that's a very good basketball team.
It's been the whole time they've all been there.
They just have to get on the same page.
Will they? No.
Probably not. But if they do, that's a very good basketball.
You see, they're even further away from being on the same page than they were at the end of the season when they got swept. They're getting further away from being on the same page.
They have regressed.
They're just making it like Durant burned every single bridge and then forgot he was still on the island.
Yeah, there's a resounding lack of trust in that organization, top to bottom.
Like it got worse. Like it made it worse. Oh God, Ben Simmons is gonna have to really make a difference this year. It's all down to Ben, baby.
That boy better be. He better win Defensive Player of the Year.
He's got to do something. They need him. They need Ben to turn up. But yeah, I don't know.
All NBA first team defense or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he's done it before, but I don't know if that's gonna be the thing that fixes it. They need Ben to be like the emotional leader.
Ben Simmons has to be the heart and soul.
That's the point. It's like, who's the one who steps up and brings them together? It's obviously not going to be Durant. Like, because he doesn't want to be there. It's not going to be Kyrie. They're going to be lucky if Kyrie shows up. It's not going to be Ben Simmons. Like, who's going to be, like, why would it be Steve Nash? They've all spent all this time just dicking all over Steve Nash. Like, there's nobody who will make it work. So it's obviously not going to work. Like, there's nobody in there who's going to, like, be the one to step up and be like, hey, guys, let's all get along. Like, come on, let's work towards a common goal. We all want to win a championship. Then you see that statement that Sean Marks said, we're all working for one thing. We're all a team. Nobody, they all hate each other. It's a mess. They should just trade him now. Like,
maybe Josiah is the peacemaker.
he has to be. He's the only one who possibly can. Like,
he'll have to be. Yeah,
he's the only one who.
Him.
Like, it could. Nobody else. That's what I'm saying. You got to plop the man down in the Ukraine. Like, he's got something. He's got some understanding of the human psyche.
Josiah just has to go, I pay all of you, get along now.
But, you want to talk about how the Big 12 is just becoming the D-League for the SEC?
Yes, we can. It's bad.
It's funny. It's
funny.
It's pretty fun. Are we gonna get, like, I was thinking about this, is college football just trending like 70 years behind the NFL, and are we just gonna get to a point where is genuinely just a 2-conference sport? Like, will Division I college football just get to a point where it's like, because I was reading, I mean, some people are saying, some projections are saying like the Big Ten and the SEC could both have like 20 plus teams within the next 5 years. Like, at that point, like, just have it be 2 conferences. Just have it be 2 conferences. Like, just have them be the only 2. Like, Gavin Newsom, I didn't realize this. We missed this in June. Made UCLA like explain why it was beneficial to the state of California for them to join the Big Ten.
Yeah. And recently the regents, that was the word I was forgetting earlier when we were on the phone. The regents of UCLA are also trying to get them to not move out of the Pac-12. But I guess the number one problem is that there's no larger centralizing force in college football that can just say, no, do not consolidate all your power in these conferences. Like every team just sort of goes to whatever television network offers them the biggest contract.
Right, because like, why wouldn't you?
Fox is given this, and
I mean the Big
Ten
Ten
else is given that, and it's
the Big Ten and the SEC just have so much more. Like you're better off just being like fodder in the SEC than anything else. Like, my God, when they have their own network. Like, the TV deals are massive. Like, you can't blame these teams. I mean, like, the ACC is going to get gutted. Within the next 5 years, like, FSU is going to be in the SEC. Clemson's going to be in the SEC. Like, it's
like they were saying, like, Vanderbilt's football team was making more money than USC and UCLA. Yeah. That's Vanderbilt's football team wins like 4 games a year.
Yeah, but they get that runoff. They're like, it's like being a bad MOB team. It's like being It's like being it's like being like the Athletics or something. You're getting your cut of the TV deal, buddy, and it's so big that you're just so much better off being in the SEC or the Big Ten than almost anybody, like almost anywhere. And it might go too far.
I mean, and then there's still like enclaves of talent. Utah.
Oh, sure.
Utah or Utah State. What is it? Utah's still good. Like, Pitt is still good. Clemson for now, but it's.
But again, Clemson's gonna be in the SEC in the next 5 years. I'm telling you that.
It's like I understand functionally the teams within the same regions being within the same conference, but
that's not what it's about.
It's not what it's about. It's about money, and then sort of NIL deals are also going to have a undisclosed hand in how this all goes. But I think the problem is just there's no centralization to this.
No,
there's no central force that says each team can only have this X amount, or contracts can be this, NIL deals can be that.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's the Wild West.
Well, it's the NCAA, but they're incompetent at most things.
Yeah,
and it's
they didn't even want to play players. So
like, at what point are we going to get to the point where it is genuinely just like, well, in college football, you're either in the SEC conference or either in the Southeastern Conference, or you are in the Big Ten. You're one of the 50 teams in the Big Ten.
And it's like who runs college football? It's like the SEC and
boosters.
Fox.
Just boosters. Whichever teams.
It's the TV networks in the SEC. Those are the primary decision makers in college football.
Like, it's nothing. It's hilarious. It's funny at this point. Like, it's like, yep. I hope you're not a big ACC fan, because Cincinnati has a couple of good years. I mean, come on. Like, somebody's gonna poach them.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna grab Cincy. Like, I mean, Clemson. What's Clemson doing there? Florida. I keep seeing that Florida State is like exploring options.
I mean, the ACC, not the AAC. The AAC is probably going to be dead soon, but the ACC, like, they're doing okay. Like, Miami's probably going to make a resurgence in a couple of years.
Which is also funny, though, that, like, I read the article where it said Florida State is exploring options. I'm like, so they're looking at the SEC. I'm like, so they're looking at the SEC. So that's what they're doing. Like, what do you mean they're exploring options? Like, they're counting how much money they can make in the SEC, and then they will look at that number and go, that is bigger than the amount of money we make right now. Can somebody confirm, is this number bigger than this number? And they'll go, yeah. And I'll be like, all right, well, let's try the SEC then. Like,
yeah, but the Big 12 and the Pac-12, they're just dead.
They're not long for this world. They are not long for this world.
And there's still like the niche conferences like the Sun Belt and Mountain West and the AAC. I mean those. I mean they're sort of like in their own realm. I guess.
They're not like major
insulated from this.
But yeah, no, it's
it's kind of sad. I mean,
it's not the best, is it? I mean, the one upshot of it could be right. The upshot could be maybe you see the major SEC teams play like more competitive schedules. Like that's like the upshot of it. But in my opinion, you shouldn't have to gut the entirety of college football just to get a few more ranked opponents on Alabama's schedule.
Yeah.
Just play Clemson. Just put them on the schedule.
They won't do it.
It's so funny. Oh God.
Alabama, they'll just play Toledo and Vanderbilt and Tennessee and.
Well, I mean,
it's reaching the point where even Ole Miss and Mississippi State and Kentucky, like they're giving Bama a run for their money now.
I mean, they will.
Those three teams I just named are actually very good, and they probably win any other division in college football or conference rather.
Yeah, which by the way, we're gonna be seeing like the fourth place team in the SEC making the playoffs. Like, are we gonna get to that? Are we gonna get to that point with it?
Like Ole Miss is the best team in literally every other conference.
Like, do we get to a point where it's like, no,
except the Big Ten?
But it's like, so we got an Alabama, Georgia, LSU, SEC, Clemson playoffs. Have a good time, everybody.
And that'll be like the fourth iteration of that.
Have a good time, everybody. It'll be great. Just all SEC, baby, all the time. It's the SEC. It's SEC football with occasional guests. That's occasionally Ohio State sneaks in. But yeah, I don't. What is? College football season starts this week. Jordan had to remind me of that. Get excited.
Nebraska and Northwestern, they're playing in Ireland on Saturday.
Oh my God, really? But
at noon Eastern.
Notre Dame will just when the dust settles and there's only two conferences ruling it all, Notre Dame will still insist on being unaffiliated for some godforsaken reason, and everybody will just kind of let them be. But yeah, I don't know. You got anything else for today? You got anything else for today, George?
Tradition, they're ruining college football. What about loyalty?
The tradition of Notre Dame just being an entity unto itself. It'll be the apocalypse. The drones are whirling around trying to find teams that aren't in the Big Ten or SEC to absorb them, to assimilate them, and then nope, not Notre Dame, baby. They have an exception. They've coated themselves in something that doesn't alert the censors.
Yeah, but no, I'm done. I mean, my last thoughts will be: this is a very fixable problem, but it will require all of these conferences ceding power to a central organization that will benefit college football as a sport, rather than individual programs within the SEC or the Big Ten.
Which is to say, you don't believe that it will happen.
It will never happen.
Okay, excellent.
Unless the TV providers force them.
Excellent.
Unless Fox is just like, hey, work this out because we don't want everybody to be in the same conference anymore. It's bad for ratings. Then maybe.
But all right. So this has been a real downer of an episode, I think. So I think we're just gonna end it. So that's it. We're done. I made the TikTok, by the way. Follow the Stadium Experience. _Stadium_experience on TikTok. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jake_Elmsley. Follow Jordan at Jordan. What's your Twitter handle?
True_world_king. Same thing on my Instagram.
We have a YouTube now. If you want to watch us on YouTube, it is just the Stadium Experience with Jake Elmsley, posting uploads of the game. We have 0 subscribers and 1 view on last week's episode on there. We're doing numbers, but check us out there. Have a great week, everybody. See you next time. Goodbye. All right, perfect. Thank you. That was great.